Hi, I'm Rex Howes. When it comes to improving performance and results, keep this in mind. There can be no improvement without change, and there can be no change without insight. But you need to know what needs to be changed and why it needs to be changed. And there's no insight unless you get feedback. So today we're going to talk about how to use feedback appropriately to improve performance and results. Let's take a look at what I call the feedback wheel and the feedback tank. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. You take a look at this wheel. In the upper left-hand corner, you have supportive feedback. Right-hand corner, you have corrective feedback. On the lower right-hand corner, you have insignificant feedback. In the lower left-hand corner, you have abusive feedback. And all of them are pointing to this feedback tank. We all have a feedback tank. And when that tank is full, when we are feeling loved, when we're feeling appreciated, when we feel important and wanted and vital, that we have a positive outlook. We have renewed energy. We bounce back from adversity. We're stronger, we're faster, we're more productive, we're more organized, and all those things are good. And just the opposite is true. As our feedback bucket or tank gets lower, we start feeling awful. It poisons our outlook. It drains our energy. We're not as productive. And so those are bad things. Now, how does our feedback tank get full? Well, it starts off when we're kids. From parents, teachers, friends, experiences, what have you. And then as we get into business, from business associates and from supervisors, from experiences, what have you. And all the positive experiences we have fill up our feedback tank. Then just like in an automobile, a gasoline tank, or it's really not a tank, but the radiator, and when the oil pan, when they have the appropriate amounts of gas, oil, or antifreeze, water, what have you, everything works just fine. As it gets drained, bad things start to happen. Same thing with our feedback tank in each one of us. Now, just like parents, teachers, family, friends, business associates, what have you, can add to our feedback tank, they can also drain it. And we'll talk in a few minutes about how that happens. And a lot of times in workshops, and some of you may have attended a workshop where I did this, I'll ask the participants, how long can we live without air? And the answer is minutes. How long can we live without water? The answer is days. How long can we live without food? Weeks. How long can we live without feedback? I usually get some form of forever or a long time, what have you. Well, the truth of the matter is we can't live very long at all without feedback. We go through our day every day adjusting to the feedback around us, the room temperature, the brightness of the sun, whether it's raining or not, other cars on the highway, and what other people say, think, or do, and how that affects us. And so we're constantly making adjustments, thousands of adjustments probably every day based on the feedback we get. Our employees do the same thing. They adjust their behavior based on the feedback they get, either from the job itself, from coworkers, from clients, and most importantly, from their supervisor. Now, when it comes to business, if you are responsible, have at least one direct report, you really have three areas of responsibility. One, you're a manager. And what a manager does is keep things going, keeps the system operating. Doesn't really necessarily improve results, but keeps it going so that you don't go backwards. Another responsibility is as a leader. And true leaders don't develop followers. True leaders develop other leaders. And that's how an organization grows. That's how you improve performance and results, by growing leaders. Now, how do you grow leaders? With the third category that each of you are responsible for playing on a regular basis, and that's coaching. That as a coach, your job is to bring out the best in people, help them grow and develop and use more of their potential, and help them be leaders. Now, 4 types of feedback. Supportive feedback. That's typically positive. It can be written. It can be. It needs to be specific. It can be written. It can be spoken. It can be physical. It can be words. It can be your tone. It can be your reflection. It can be body language. can be something as simple as thumbs up. It can be eye contact. It can be a smile. It can be a hug if appropriate. And it can be spending time with somebody, because all those are forms of supportive feedback. And here's the principle. You can see that in there. It talks about behavior repetition. What we want to do is we want to reward the behaviors we want repeated. Now, some of you have probably been, maybe many of you have been to SeaWorld, and you've seen Shamu, the great orca whale, jump out of the water on command. You know how they train him to do that? Well, you're going to be glad you came, because I'm going to tell you. What they do when Shamu is just a little guy, they put a rope across the bottom of the tank, and when he swims over the rope, they give him a treat, probably a fish. And then they raise the rope a little bit. When he swims over it, they give him a treat again. They raise the rope a little higher, they give him a treat. And then finally, they put the rope at the top of the water to where Shamu has to jump out of the water to get the treat. And that's how they do it. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do people that way, but what we need to do is that we need to reinforce the behaviors we want repeated. And again, that can be with a thank you, a kind word, a way to go, I appreciate you, all sorts of things that you can say there to support people. So that's above the line, and that fills up the feedback tank and keeps it at an acceptable level. And the other things you need to know is that we all have different size feedback tanks. That some people just need a quiet pat on the back and a thank you once in a while. Other people need a brass band to show up on time. And we need to know what type of feedback people need in order to keep their feedback tank full. Now, so the supportive feedback is positive. So is the corrective feedback. Too many people think that corrective feedback is negative. Well, actually, if someone's doing something well and right, they want to know about it, and they want to know about it as soon as possible. Likewise, if someone's doing something inappropriate, if they're not being as effective as they could be, I think that they want to know that too. So what we want to do with corrective feedback is we want to stop inappropriate behavior, and we want to get correct behavior. And so what we're dealing with here is behavior change. And I call it positive confronting. And what do we want to talk about there? I think that's it. So anytime someone's doing anything wrong, you want to make sure they feel safe, and that you describe what the goal is, what the current behavior is, and what adjustments need to be made so that they can correct their behavior and start being productive and help you improve performance and results. And in the third area, the southeast quadrant, or the slice there, is insignificant feedback. You're going to typically get a minimum response from that. There's really three types of feedback. You have positive feedback, you have negative feedback, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and you have no feedback. Well, positive feedback builds, negative feedback destroys encouragement, morale, motivation, discretionary effort, etc. And then the third type of feedback is no feedback. And that's probably the most common type of feedback in business and industry today. Bosses will say, you do a good job, you're not going to hear from me. But you mess up, I'm going to be in your face. Boy, that's exciting, isn't it? So if we're not giving people feedback, or we're giving them inappropriate or inadequate feedback, we're not going to get improved performance and results. And then the fourth area, and the real damaging area, is abusive feedback. That's in the lower left-hand corner of the southwest slide. And what you get with that is contempt. You get passive resistance, sometimes just outright resistance. Sometimes it creates turnover and what have you. But that's criticism, ignoring people, not spending time with people, sarcasm. All of those things are abusive, and we need to avoid those if at all possible. So the main message here is that a full feedback tank is good, an empty or low feedback tank is bad. And here are three things that we can do to make sure that everyone's feedback tank is at the appropriate level. Number one, stop the critical feedback. No need for critical feedback. No place for it in business, no place for it in families, no place for it in a polite society. Stop the critical feedback. Number two, step up the supportive feedback. No matter how good you are at giving feedback and how frequent you give feedback, it can be even better. So work on stepping up your supportive feedback. And 3, if in fact you slip and you come up with something critical or abusive, apologize for what you've said or done and let them know it won't happen again, and let them know that you appreciate them. And in overall, never underestimate the long-term influence of keeping someone's feedback tank full and encouraging them to be more, do more, and to become the leader that they are capable of becoming. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.